The party's largest fundraiser on Saturday, about a year after two women accused him of sexual assault. As Ben Paviour reports, Fairfax says he's been exonerated and is planning to run for governor.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax.
There was tepid applause and a walkout of a couple dozen women as Fairfax made his way to the podium on Saturday night. It was a remarkable change from a year ago when many top party officials in the room called for Fairfax to resign.
It was round the clock, nonstop, cameras outside of my home, tracking my family, tracking me. When the truth came out, everybody went away.
I spoke to Fairfax on February 7th, a week before the gala. He went on the attack at the media.
People love to mindlessly rehash allegations,
dismissing his accusers, Vanessa Tyson as well as Meredith Watson.
Again, this was a smear campaign, and smear campaigns are not meant to be resolved.
And questioning Me Too culture as a whole.
Because you're in this blind hashtag world, right, where I can go on Twitter and hashtag something, and then cancel culture is here, right? And people are canceling cancel culture.
In September, Fairfax sued CBS for $400 million, saying they ignored an unnamed witness and other factors that would have exonerated him. Last week, a federal judge threw out the case. Fairfax is planning to appeal and often takes to Twitter to defend himself. The lieutenant governor says the women's lack of recent public responses is proof of his innocence.
Do they think that they're going to tear me down with nonsense? Absolutely not.
The women have stood by their allegations of two alleged assaults, for Watson in 2000 at Duke University and for Tyson in 2004 at the Democratic National Convention in Boston. Alexis Rogers finds the women's claims credible. She's the state director for Care in Action, an advocacy group focused on domestic workers. She's also involved in several local Democratic groups, although she emphasized she wasn't speaking on their behalf.
There seems to be no awareness that the way that he's carrying himself could actually still be harming people to this day and is harming people to this day.
Rogers says Fairfax's verbal attacks on his accusers has had a ripple effect.
If you are a survivor who works at a political organization, you might feel differently about speaking up, even if you know your truth.
Fairfax is back on the speaking circuit. Over the past month, he's given remarks at events held by the LGBTQ group Equality Virginia and at the annual Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Service in Washington, D.C. Rogers says that the embrace suggests liberals aren't rallying around Tyson and Watson the way they did with Christine Blasey Ford, who accused Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault.
These are black women coming forward and sharing their stories, and they're not being heard. Others would say that, the liberal base can't necessarily see the wrongdoing in their own party.
For advocates like Rogers, the situation is complicated by the close partisan margins of the state Senate. Fairfax has already cast a tie-breaking vote on a bill that would repeal some abortion restrictions. And Rogers says advocates and lawmakers may be wary of getting on his bad side if their bill is next.
I think everything that happened last session is kind of in everybody's rearview mirror.
Democratic Senator Scott Suravel says the legislature is not the place to take up accusations that are over a decade old.
If there's conduct that occurs during session or during somebody's term of elected office, I think it's much more plausible we would do something about that as opposed to something that happened before somebody was ever even elected.
And while a few other lawmakers voiced uneasiness with Fairfax, none would go on the record. There's been no attempt this year to call legislative hearings requested by Tyson and Watson, as well as House Republicans. Rogers says the ballot box may be the best check on Fairfax. The lieutenant governor says he spent the last year rising like a phoenix from ashes. He's expected to formally announce his run for governor in the coming months. Ben Paviour, VPM News, Capitol Square.